Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Helen Webster. I'm with the lovely
Sandra Scott, and our fabulous today is the incredible Paul Askew.
I didn't know whether you were going to say it. Good evening.
We forgot to tell you
that bit. Never mind. It's sleek as anything. This show seamless.
No problem.
100%.
Well, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And thank you for giving your time. We know you are super, super busy, and we will find out lots and lots of how you are busy and why you are busy in a little minute. So the first thing that we ever do on the show is we shout out to the kids. And today we're going to do a bit of a shout out, a bit of a sending our thoughts and prayers over to all of the children in Southport. So to the families of the poor children, but also to all the little ones who were there at the time. You know, and all the other kids in kids clubs, because it affected a lot of other children in kids clubs who go. So massive just shout out to everybody. Keep going to those clubs, you know, keep having supporting those and all the workers, you know, who work in these places. They'll be affected by it as well. So massive shout out to all the families, and you know, we send you our love and best wishes, and you know, we're thinking of everybody, aren't we? You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, success this week for you personally, something that's happened that's been amazing. Do you want to go first, Sandra? Do you want me to go first?
I shall go first today then. So, some people have followed the saga of the sofa and know that I've had no furniture in my lounge at all since the 7th of June because it was meant to be delivered. I bought it in May. It was meant to be delivered. Got the other one out, and then the new one was meant to, and I was delighted. I'd organised it all for one day. I thought, how fantastic. And you know, it was cancelled at 8:30 the night before, and then they arranged the following Friday, and then they cancelled at 9:15 the night before. So and then lo and behold, yesterday some of the stuff arrived and the rest is meant to be coming tomorrow. So I'm beside myself because I've got a chair now, so in the other room. So that was it. So that's quite a success to have had. The 2-seater and the footstool came, and hopefully the 3-seater's coming tomorrow.
So brilliant.
Big moves, Sandra. Big moves are coming.
What about you, Hal?
I'm going to give my success. So it wasn't this week; it was last Sunday, and it took me mum and dad. So me and Phil and my mum and dad, we went to St George's Hall, which is the Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and it's the light show, which is absolutely incredible. So if anybody's thinking about going, 100% definitely go. I know lots of people who've been, who've said that they'll go again. And there was lots of people from out of town who've come, you know, to access it, and it's absolutely so. You have to get on a beam. Well, you don't have to get on a beanbag, but there's like little beanbag chairs there, and then there's chairs. So we walked in, and I was thinking, oh, I'm well going to get on a chair, so I'm going to get on the beanbag. Sorry. So my dad was like, yeah, let's get on the beanbag. My poor mum was like that. Oh. So she was like, I'll get on the beanbag. I might not get off. And I was like, you will, you'll be fine. Anyway, massive success was that we got both of them off the beanbags.
What a building, though, by the way. That was one of my favourite building in Liverpool, I think, has to be St George's Hall. And I've done some crazy things in that building, but it's amazing. I think it's the most iconic interior I can possibly think of. It's
very
amazing.
Much so. And every time you go, you see different things, don't you? I always find.
Yes.
And they've matched the light show to the ceiling, so there's like little squares in it. You know, it's incredible. It's 35 minutes, but it's well worth it. And everybody who's been, so I would highly recommend. I think it's on till the 29th of September.
Oh, fun!
Yeah. And this is all part of the celebrations, isn't it? Is it the 175th or something like that? It is celebrating on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I should know that.
As a blue badge guide, Sandra, you need to know that. Yeah.
Trainee, and failing on a weekly basis.
I'm sure not. Yeah.
What's your success this week, Paul?
Well, it's been an interesting week already. I just had a trip down to London yesterday, and I had a meeting at the Ritz with the well, he was our chairman of the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, John Williams, who's the exec chef of the Ritz. He's now the president. And we were attending an awards dinner last night, the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts annual Awards of Excellence dinner. So it was a fantastic night, and it's great to see the next generation of chefs, waiters, and pastry chefs being rewarded for all their hard work. Really, that's what it was all about. So a real celebration. Really good.
So that was Paul's success. Mine was the two-seater sofa. Right?
I think that's very, very successful. I love the way you said I'm beside myself as well, because you're actually not, because there's nobody to sit in the chair that's not there yet, is it?
Indeed.
You're not beside anybody yet.
The floor, the space.
Yeah. I do like yours,
definitely the sofa will arrive tomorrow, so everybody's got to send positive vibes that the sofa will arrive.
Good things
tomorrow.
are coming, Sandra. Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Okay, we're going to play this or that. So Sandra and I'll ask you, Paul. Okay. Sandra, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay, I'm going to ask Paul first. Okay. Paul, would you rather cook for somebody who's gluten-free or a vegan?
Well, for a chef, that's always a tricky one, isn't it? Do you know what? We literally, and Sandra knows this because she comes there for meetings and things.
Yeah.
We spend a hell of a lot of time cooking for both vegan and for gluten-free. But I know you want to put me on the spot, so I'll say on this occasion I'll say gluten-free.
That's because I'm good.
There you go. But we do gluten-free vegan, so there you go.
Yeah, Sandra was that for half a day.
Yeah.
Hey, I was vegan for ages, you know.
Yeah.
I was vegan for nearly a month, for nearly a year, and then when Ronan came back from university, he went ballistic and was wanting to have lamb and steak and everything. I said to him, when you go away, I'm going vegan again, but I haven't managed it yet. I think
when vegans fall off the wagon, which is what I can only describe that Ronan did, they fall off big, don't they?
Oh yeah, Ronan was never a vegan.
Yeah.
Ronan was never vegan. He just thinks that's an abomination.
Was there a lady's influence by any chance that might have made him turn towards veganism?
Oh no, Ronan wasn't vegan. It was me. He would never be vegan.
Right. Oh, I thought he.
No. He was horrified at the very idea of it.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
What about you, San? Would you rather cook for a vegan or use gluten-free?
Gluten-free, because that's what I do all the time. But when I go to the art school, hands on heart, Paul has really enlightened me about quite a few bits and bobs, you see, because I'm not a celiac, as we know. I've just got an intolerance to it. And Paul has the stuff that Paul does, like their bread and everything, and I can eat. I'm nervous to go have loads of it, but when I'm there, I'll just eat the food now that Paul puts out, and I'm fine with it. So we had this conversation, didn't we?
Yeah.
And you were saying it'll be some kind of additive or something. So I'm still trying to nail it down.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line is, and you see a lot of people on social media talking about this all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically the food that we eat is all very, very processed.
Yeah.
There's too many preservatives, too many E numbers, too many emulsifiers, too many many additives, full stop. And the thing is, when you're making fresh bread every day, as I've explained to you, you've literally got flour, water, yeast, salt, and then maybe a bit of olive oil and some fennel seed or something, whatever you're flavoring. And it's so natural and so fresh. And then, you don't have any problems, do you, with that sort of stuff?
No, not at all. I love it. I also think it's to do with the quality of the flour you use as well, Paul, because...
Yeah, sure.
And that, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway,
sure.
Don't get me started on how amazing everything is there. Right. So I was going to ask you, would you rather cook a souffle or eat a souffle?
Oh, well, I mean, again, for a chef, we adore what we do. We love cooking. But as you can tell from my slim figure, I also enjoy eating it as well. So, there's a reason I'm called Paul Askew, but it's a tough one. But I'd have to say cooking, because I love the job satisfaction of seeing happy faces. So it would always be about cooking for me. Yeah.
Mine's eating.
And
What
we can
about
do
you?
a gluten-free one for you, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what about you,
I've
Helen?
never cooked a souffle or eaten a souffle.
We need to fix that, Helen. We need to sort that out immediately. Yeah.
Right, that's it.
I know that they're really tricky to cook, aren't they? Because they rise and you have to be careful with the temperatures and things.
Yeah, I think once you've got the mix sorted and you've got it's as we would say repetitive practice, and once you've done it over and over, it becomes second nature. And the team in the art school that they're doing 40, 50 a day, and it just becomes second nature. And you honestly, I'll pass a recipe to you, and you'll give it a few goes, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Look at me.
Don't be intimidated by souffles, is what I say.
No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good
Brilliant.
shout. Okay. We'll find out a little bit more about this later as well. But Sandra, would you rather drink a glass of red wine or white wine?
She's totally robbed my questions, most of them. So it depends. So I always say I'm a red wine drinker. However, when you have some really lovely white wines and that all the accompanying things are really, really nice. So overall, I'd say red, definitely. However, I have had some white wines that have been absolutely beautiful. And of course, champagne comes under that for me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And what about you, Paul? You can only drink one for the rest of your life.
Champagne.
Oh, crikey. It would... Yeah, that is tough actually, because again, as a chef, when we're choosing wine, we first think of what we're eating. We don't think of the wine. We think of the food first. What would I drink with that? So if I was only drinking one for the rest of my life, it would probably be a crisp dry white, because I think that would go more with more things that I would choose probably than I do love red wine, but I think I'd have to go with a crisp dry white or champers.
Or champers,
And if you're in Bordeaux, you can get the best of both worlds and drink claret, which is like a very light red wine, served chilled, which is gorgeous as well.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So our gorgeous Brian Quinn is listening in. So Brian says you need to start with an art school souffle of hell. So I was like, yeah, 100% Brian with you on that.
Yeah.
So next time then I'm going to start with an
Thank you,
art
Brian.
school souffle. And John Howie's listening. So John Howie says we have all forgotten how to cook. Everything is pre-packed and fast.
Yeah, we cook. I cook everything.
Yeah. Buy more raw ingredients and do more cooking from scratch, and people will be a hell of a lot healthier for sure.
Definitely.
100%.
What about you, Helen?
I think I love red wine, but I do love a really crisp, dry white wine. And I think I'd be with Paul, dry white wine and champers.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to beat, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty hard, yeah.
Go on, San, your go. Sorry, I pinched it.
No, it's absolutely fine. Okay. Would you rather have the restaurant full of people having afternoon tea, the afternoon tea that you serve, or a 3-course lunch?
Yeah, I mean, again, we put the same love and care and attention into everything that we do. If I'm honest, I probably would prefer the 3-course lunch, only because I think we can show off what the art school main room and our style is all about in that way. I love afternoon tea in every way. But yes, if I had to pick one, it would be the 3-course lunch with amuse-bouche and breads, of course, as well. But
I'll go with that one as well then. What about you, Helen?
And me.
Oh, yeah.
And me.
Yeah.
All right, go on, Hel, your go.
Okay.
Paul,
would you rather cook at a dinner party for your friends, or a banquet for like 100 strangers?
Now that's a curious one, isn't it? Because your friends can also be your friends and also your worst critics, can't they? But no, I love cooking and dinner parties and spending time with the people that you care about obviously is very important. So that would be something great to do at home as a gathering. But of course, I've made a career out of cooking for hundreds of people every day, every week, every month. So it's a hard one for me there, because I like both. I like cooking, full stop.
Yeah.
What about you, San?
Friends, hands down. I'd be trying, if I had to cook for 100 people, I'd have a breakdown. Obviously. Friends. We'd have sandwiches if it was 100 people. That's it.
There you go.
Yeah. What about you, Hal?
I'd quite like to cook a big banquet. I think when you watch them and you watch how they operate, in a big venue, it's just unbelievable, the skill and the precision. It's like a military operation, it's just, and I just think it's beautiful to watch, when they all walk out at the same time. And
it is. You're absolutely
I
right.
think, I don't think people understand or realize the talent that actually goes into serving that many people.
Yeah, that's not one of my talents.
No, I know that.
I think it becomes not just a culinary challenge; it becomes a logistics challenge as well.
Yeah.
And because obviously at some point the timing of the food, the temperature of the food, the style of service, there are so many variables in our industry that's what makes it such a challenge. I think one of the best ones ever I can think of in terms of that military operation you just described was at St. George's Hall that we were talking about before, and we did the Turner Prize for the Tate Gallery. That was 340 people, I think.
Oh my God.
And it went so well, so slick. We deliberately overstaffed it really to make it that way. But when you've got something like that that's also being televised, and you've got the great and the good of the arts world, it's got to be spot on. So it was amazing. But yeah, I love the ceremony of it. I love the service. I really do. I love seeing food being plated and delivered in the right way. It's quite emotional, I find it.
That's because it's your passion.
Yes, absolutely.
Your last one, San?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to ask you first, Helen. Starter or dessert?
Oh, dessert, 100%.
I knew that was coming. Paul? This is
I'd probably, I'm less of a sweet tooth, so I'd probably say starter. Yeah, I'd probably, if that was my choice.
I would normally say that, but because I can leave a dessert no problem, which you probably find hard to believe, because when you do the dessert, when we have those desserts that come, because when we have some business meetings there, and Paul always does some nice things. Sometimes we have platters, all different things, and there's dessert, and you just think, oh, that looks nice, and then it's just all this flavor. You're just like, what? Where's this come from? So I do love the desserts there, but I'm not normally such a sweet tooth.
Well, we've got there's a very talented pastry team at the art school who do that in particular. But the policy for us is that desserts shouldn't be just about sugar and sweetness.
No.
They should have acidity, they should have flavor, they should have texture. And I think, of course we all we do like sweet things, of course we do, but it's got to be about the flavors of what the dessert is themed around. And I think sometimes you do go to a lot of places and it is just sugar, and it could be anything, to be honest. So hopefully there's a reason that you like those, Lady Scott.
They're they do delicious,
They do
we had that matcha, didn't we? We had the matcha dessert, which
the
was
chouquette with the matcha tea and the lemon curd in the middle.
Incredible. Incredible. I like matcha tea and everything, but that was on another level. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a really, really lovely combination there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sam, you can introduce Paul.
Okay, then. So we've been trying to sort this out for ages. But Paul is one of the busiest. We have some people on here who are very busy, but I think you really have topped the busy charts. So I'm absolutely delighted to have Paul Askew, who is the chef patron of the Art School restaurant in Liverpool. And as Helen said, normally we describe ourselves as a platform for going on to greater things after people have been on the show. But you've hit rock bottom today with us, having been on your, is it the Sunday breakfast you were on, Paul? I can never remember the name of it.
Well, Sunday brunch. Sunday brunch done a few times, and hopefully we'll do again in the near future. Yeah, we do a few little bits and bobs, don't we, to keep us out of mischief.
So what we'd like to know, Paul, is basically in the short time we've got, really, is your journey, how you came to be where you are now, and what you've got going on, and then a bit about the future. And Helen and I will interrupt you with questions probably at the same time. But if you'd like to tell us your backstory, that would be lovely.
We like a good interrogation, don't worry. It'd be fabulous. Well, it's for me, it's 43 years this year that I've been in the role as a chef or a restaurateur, or basically been in the business for that length of time.
Wow.
And it started for me because my father was a merchant Navy sea captain, Barnacle Bill Askew, and because of his job and his role, we travelled a hell of a lot. So I was probably about 4 years old when we originally from Sunderland. We moved down to Liverpool because of the port. So my mum, my two sisters, and myself. And from there on, we became like the travelling Wilburys, because we were down to London and back to Liverpool, and Liverpool to Dubai. Went to school in Dubai at 11. Made my first long haul flight at 11 on my own. Then went to Singapore, where they spent the rest of his career, 14 years. And of course, all along the while, when you're exposed to this level of travel and food experiences and food cultural experiences, I think you can only be captivated by it, really. And it's a very sort of mind opening experience. And I can still remember the first spice market in Dubai that I walked through when I was 11. And even now I'll smell something and it'll transport me back there, or I'll go, the first satay I ever had in Singapore in a hawker stand, that smell again transports me back to my 14-year-old self, walking through Newton Circus and watching my father pick a crab that was going to be made into chili crab, or So all of these experiences were probably what got me hooked on food and drink. But it wasn't just wanting to cook and understand it and learn about it. It was the culture of food and the culture of conviviality that food and drink brings, if you like. That we were just talking about it then. When you sit around a table with friends, family, or even doing business, it's a very powerful thing, food and drink, when it's considered and it's put together properly and it's delivered in a certain way, with love, with passion, with flavor, with style, really. And I think I've seen many business deals go wrong when the food and drink hasn't been good. Not done by me, I might add. Equally, I've seen it make or break events. 1 minute we could be doing the G7, cooking for the foreign secretaries of the world, or we could be doing somebody's wedding, or the places that it takes you, food and drink, once you get established. Of course, the restaurant is the number one thing in our repertoire, if you like, and looking after those guests that come through the door. But the places that it takes us now and the opportunities that it's brought us over the years is staggering. So I think being a bit obsessed with food culture and food culture development was a major thing for me. Then after when we came back from Singapore, and I did my own training, I was over at Wirral Met on the Wirral side there. I actually did a qualification in hotel management, not just in culinary arts, but I chose to specialize in culinary arts. Started working at local hotels and restaurants, and then I decided to do my own bit of travel, because at the time in the UK, the food culture was not at its best, shall we say?
No.
The days of the well done steak chasseur and the Black Forest Gatto and a very poorly done prawn cocktail, was about the level of the local Burnley Inn, or the that was the height of our culinary world. And I remember a book coming out when I was about 16, 17 by the Roux brothers, and it was called New Classic Cuisine. And it was when Nouvelle Cuisine was invented, basically, and it showed that food could be an art form, rather than, it's not just fuel. It's not just something you shove down your throat when you're busy and you're going out to the next meeting, or you're dashing off to school, or you're dashing off to work. It's something that should be adored and should be contemplated and planned and enjoyed with your friends and your family, and it really was an art form. And I wanted to be the next Albert Roux. I didn't want to be cooking well done steak chasseurs for the rest of my life, for sure. Sadly, my father didn't understand that. He thought I should be going to sea, or I should be becoming the next general manager of the Shangri-La in Singapore. He wanted me to stay that side of things, and I think he thought I was going to be flipping burgers and frying eggs in the galley of a ship or something. I don't know. And of course, what I wanted was to create something akin to what I saw in that book. It was the most inspirational book that I've ever picked up. So that was difficult because, of course, he was very sort of against what I wanted to do. My mum, on the other hand, was very supportive, and she was NHS, so been a nurse all her life. So he was the sort of businessman and the sort of disciplinarian and the driving force, and then I had Moriarty, my mum, as the sort of compassionate person who cares for everybody. So I suppose in hospitality terms, I got two sets of genes there that were very compatible and work well together. So I like to think that we've learned how to treat people, we've learned how to develop that culture of hospitality that I've mentioned, and at the same time we know how to run a disciplined kitchen that can turn out great dishes consistently well. And people trust us because of that, and therefore it leads on to other opportunities, which really is what Liverpool needs more of, and one of the reasons. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, you have what you wish is what you've achieved, because the food in your restaurant's a work of art. But was it difficult, sort of you were determined to do it in Liverpool, weren't you?
There was a story there, really, and this will resonate with lots of people locally. At the time I finished college, I wrote to all the big hotels and restaurants in London, including the Ritz, the one I visited yesterday. And the Dorchester and the Savoy and the Gavroche and the Park Lane, and all big places that I believe that I could go and learn and train and do a good job in. And I've still got the letters now, and from every one of them, this was early 80s, this would be. And it was just after the Toxteth riots and all the troubles. And there was a policy in London at the time, so I was told by a friend of mine who was already down there, that there was a policy not to employ people with a Merseyside postcode. So I was really, A, quite shocked with that, and B, absolutely bloody fuming about it. So it actually drove me and made me want to prove a point, if you like, that Liverpool could do capital city standards. So instead of going to London, I went over to upstate New York and shared an apartment with a good friend of mine who was over there playing football, and he's still over there now as a soccer coach, actually. So he was playing in the MLS, and I was working as a sous chef in a lovely it was owned by a Jewish family, Herbert's, who owned 4 or 5 different restaurants. We also had outside catering. So ironically, I was working 1 minute at Saratoga Racetrack for the Jockey Club. Next minute I'm in downtown restaurant looking after because one of the head chef was off on holiday, so I'd go in as the relief chef and take over. Next minute I'm doing a dinner party in a lawyer's house for 12 people.
Wow.
Watching them take cocaine, it was quite it was quite an interesting upbringing.
Brilliant,
really.
Brilliant training though. Really good.
It was a bit like if any of you have ever read Kitchen Confidential, there was a little bit of that in America at the time. It was quite a tough environment, lots of big immigrant workforce. Basically, the exec chef was American. Then there was me as the sous chef, as the chief whip, and then I had a brigade of the United Nations. So I learned a lot about managing as well as about food. But yeah, amazing experiences. And then obviously came back to the UK to carry on my career and take up my first head chef position. But it was always about getting back to Liverpool to show that we could get capital city standards in our city, because I was so tired of hearing Southeast journalists giving us a kicking in the press every 5 minutes, and they're still saying the same jokes now, some of them. But I think we've moved, a million miles from where we were, and I think people are now realizing the real Liverpool and the warmth of hospitality, the prowess of the culinary scene, and
yes, Paul, absolutely. And
it's a city break now, isn't it?
Isn't it one of the most popular places to come? And we were speaking to Angie Redhead. We had her on the show, didn't we? And Fabulous. We did that from St George's Hall, and she was talking about that as well briefly, because I made a comment, and it sort of changed my way of thinking. Because having leaving school in the mid 80s or 84, 85, so it's all that we are all a bit like that still, aren't we? And she said, and she's similar age to me, and she said, we just move on now. That's happened, and if they're outdated in their perspective, they're outdated when they really realise it. And I know, and we'll talk about Bordeaux in a minute, because you've done so much to champion the city and that relationship. And we were out in Bordeaux at the end of June, and I could hear these people speaking in French, and they were talking about the standard of food they said, oh, it was incredible and everything, because you did a very special dinner there, didn't you, in Bordeaux?
Yeah, so this was something that we've been planning probably since 2016, 17, around that, when Bordeaux first invited Liverpool to become one of the chosen cities that can host Fête Le Vin, or the wine for their wine festival.
Yeah.
So Bordeaux is just to put a bit of context behind it. Bordeaux is one of the 3 most famous wine producing places in the world. You've got Champagne, you've got Burgundy, and you've got Bordeaux. So for Bordeaux to choose Liverpool as one of its partners, we're already with great sort of colleagues in terms of Hong Kong, Brussels, Quebec, Liverpool, and Bordeaux, and now they're adding a Japanese city and a Chinese city to this family of global. It's a global approach to food tourism. Obviously, they've got 6,500 wine producers just in Bordeaux. Wow. Everything from Chateau Petrus at the very top down to somebody who just makes 10,000 bottles of rosé a year. The tiny little producers and incredible large producers, and what they need is to get their product to more cities, because they have huge challenges in terms of climate change and ever-changing global markets because of the way the world is at the moment. And I think what they see in Liverpool is this up-and-coming, incredible, warm, friendly city with a funny little thing about the Beatles, and this funny little football team, and this funny little architecture, and these lovely people who like a drink, and we're actually quite good at hospitality now, and they know they can see it, so they're really proud, and they want to invest in Liverpool. They want to spend time with us. They want to help us grow our brand as well, because they see the potential. They're very savvy people, actually.
And you've done a lot to cultivate that relationship, though, haven't you? It's very much thanks to your contacts.
Yeah, I think every year since 2017, they've either come here or we've gone there, apart from the COVID years, obviously. But the big thing now is that we were the guest city this year. So Liverpool was invited to set up shop on the quay side of Bordeaux, on the side of the Garonne, and with three-masted tall ships and a mile and a half of food and wine tasting with music going on. Yeah, so we were very honoured as myself and the art school to collaborate with a local caterer, or traiteur as they call them, not the traitors that you see on the television. It's just their word for caterers, who were very, very talented, and we developed a menu over the last sort of 3 or 4 months via Zoom and email, and then of course I flew out a day early to go and spend the day with them. Myself and my son Harry went over to go and see them on the Wednesday, make sure everything was all tickety-boo, and then of course we delivered it on the Thursday, which was the launch luncheon at the town hall in Bordeaux, with 110, I think it was, in the end. And it was it just set the tone perfectly. And of course, our delegation had Steve Rotherham, had Bill Addy from the bid, who's also been an incredible supporter and incredible ambassador, really, for the city as well. And we've just got this great connection now with them, and we're already planning them to come over now in 2025 to do Taste Liverpool, Drink Bordeaux in Liverpool, which hopefully will become our food and drink festival every 2 years. And then in the gap year, there'll be Taste Liverpool, possibly Drink Something Else as well. So we want to develop our food culture further, but to have a partner like Bordeaux in the mix is just, it's a total gift for Liverpool. I think now Steve Rotherham's been, I think he's realised the opportunity that lies in front of him. And I think in the early days there was a feeling like, well, what the bloody hell are we doing with Bordeaux? What's the point of that?
Yeah.
But now they see this global opportunity, and of course we can now then invite our guest city. So when Bordeaux comes to us, we might invite Quebec or Hong Kong or Brussels, and this is how international tourism begins, and it almost becomes an expo for hospitality instead of things like MIPIM, where they all go off to Cannes and get tiddly and try and bring inward investment to Liverpool. Well, we are now physically bringing people to Liverpool, and that's only going to benefit the airport. It's going to benefit the hotels, the restaurant, the cabbies, the bar owners, everybody.
Well, Paul, you're not wrong there, and I know you're very culturally aware as a person, and your international background sort of fed into that massively, I'm sure. But one of the big reasons we were able to host the Eurovision Song Contest on behalf of Ukraine is because we were twinned with Odessa, and the mayor of Odessa really spoke out on our behalf. So it's like with Shanghai as well, these relationships we have internationally, they really are, and they shouldn't be underestimated. And when I was there, I had such a good time there. That it's very chilled. It's not pretentious. Everyone's very down to earth. The wine producers are there. They got the jeans on, whatever. But they're passionate about the product. As you say, little sorts of smaller vineyards or larger big companies that we're all familiar with. It was so chilled and such fabulous, a nice, relaxed thing. It's just all about the food, all about the wine, the quality of stuff, and that's it. And we got to go to a vineyard as well, didn't we?
We did, which was fantastic. And I'm hoping, they're due to come and see us in November, actually. And I'm hoping that we're going to do some business there because we, as you know, we also have our Art of Wine, which is an import company. So we do actually bring some wines from Bordeaux direct over for the art school and Barnacle already. And we do some from Italy as well with Castorani, which is something we've got coming up soon. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Oh, lovely.
But it's so fantastic when you've got those contacts that can have a direct impact on your business and bring something absolutely unique to the city. Because he doesn't have any representation in the UK. He's a small producer.
He was so nice, that guy. They were lovely people.
Yeah, exactly. Small producer of high quality wine. Needs sole importer status for us. Absolutely perfect match. Wine was fantastic. He's fantastic, and these are the things that crop up. And of course, they want to do business with Liverpool. They don't have to go to London. They don't have to go to Edinburgh. They know that there's a capital city in the northwest now as well. So for me, it's vindicating all the things that I've tried to do and tried to believe in when these things come to pass. So they're all tiny little things that add up to very big things, and you can see it happening. It really is happening to Liverpool now. So.
And tell us about Barnacle then. Some people might know what that's connected with yourself.
Yeah, so Barnacle was the nickname of my father. You probably heard me say earlier that Captain Barnacle Bill Askew. And so what we wanted to do, we started off with a restaurant in Duke Street Market up on the mezzanine there. And the idea was to tell the story of Liverpool's food cultural journey through its maritime history. Sounds very convoluted, but I'll tell you the simple way of thinking of it. So Liverpool was probably the most important port in the whole of the empire at one point. And we used to send ships out across the world, bringing goods back from all sorts of places, whether it be Far East, Middle East, the Antipodes, North America, everywhere. And my father was one of them. So he used to go off to New Zealand and bring back lamb, or he'd go off to Uruguay and Argentina with container loads of beef, because the shipping company was owned by Lord Vestey, who also owned Dewhurst Butchers, Weddell Swift. So it was a meat company, basically. And my father was sailing all the container ships. And then in Dubai, he was there to set up the container port, which still exists now. And then same in Singapore. He represented the company in terms of the container cargoes there. And of course, now I'm the guy saying, go to your local farm shop, buy local, buy rare breed, because globalization has sort of passed now, and we're all because of sustainability and carbon footprint, we're all looking at ways of having that sort of local feel. We might use the intelligence that we've gained from around the world as we've gone on these little voyages, and cultures have come back to Liverpool, whether that be, you know, the oldest Chinese community in Europe, whether that's Afro-Caribbean influence, whether that's Scandinavian influence, whatever it is. We have got a really diverse food culture that almost tells the story of our socio-economic path. You know, it really does. So Barnacle was designed to use our local produce. We had a food map commissioned by a lovely artist in the Albert Dock, Catherine Caldwell at the Nest, and she basically did this amazing painting of all the local producers that we use through the art school and Barnacle, but showing the shipping coming down the Mersey and that bringing back of the intelligence. So I think of all the ships going out with these little barnacles on the hull, and they're the gatherers of information returning back to Liverpool. And of course, we're all, there's a bit of barnacle in all of us, really, you know, as Liverpudlians. And I do think that's the warmth of the city as well, because we were used to welcoming people from all over the world, and we did so with open arms. And of course, now we've got that welcome, we've got the world-class hospitality, we've got the knowledge, and by God, have we got the ingredients. So there's a reason that things are starting to happen for Liverpool. It's you know, the sun and the moon and the stars are aligning, and there's a reason, as you say, there's a reason Eurovision came. There's a reason we had the G7. There's a reason people want to come back. There's a reason Bordeaux wants to be here, and it's just so lovely to see. And whilst I'm proud of the Beatles and I'm proud of the sport and the architecture, it's great to see the hospitality and the food and drink now stepping into the limelight as well. Because let's be honest, we need the whole package for any city to work. You've got to have the whole package, and Liverpool is now becoming that. It's becoming that grown-up, sophisticated city that I always believed it was. You know, and almost like we're returning back to our heyday in the Victorian times. You know, and rising again. That's what it feels like anyway. I hope other people feel like that as well. I hope so. Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so.
So Mike Brome, who was in Bordeaux with you guys, he said, so Mike has said to you, Paul, Bordeaux was brilliant, as were the people, the food and the wine. Well done to Paul and Harry and the bid team. He had a fantastic time. Thank you.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you with us, Michael. It was a brilliant time. Great memories.
So lucky. Now, there's something, I know you're, you know, quite a pioneer, I would describe, locally in lots of different areas, but there's something that people mightn't be aware that you do. And you do it on a voluntary basis every year over the water, don't you, at Christmas time?
Oh, yeah.
You do a massive, because that's how, you know, Gail branched through all of that.
Yes.
Who's a friend of yours. You do a meal for the care leavers, don't you?
Yeah, so that was a really, it was a lovely project, actually. It's a tough subject, actually, because they don't get maybe the thought and the attention that they deserve, in my opinion. So I don't know if you remember, there's a poet called Lem Cisse, who's very prominent and is actually became a sort of activist and a voice for the care leavers, because he was in care most of his life. And he approached us the very first year we opened at the art school and asked if we'd do the Christmas dinner for the care leavers. So basically what happens is a lot of these children who then become adults have been in care right the way through their lives, and the minute they turn 18 they become not the responsibility of the authorities anymore. Then they're adults and they leave, and so they leave care, they're care leavers, and they go and live on their own. But sadly for a lot of them it's a very, very lonely existence, because they don't, apart from being with themselves and their other kids who've been in care or been fostered or whatever, a lot of them struggle to get into society, and therefore probably live alone and don't have anybody to have Christmas dinner with. So this amazing initiative from Lem became an annual thing for us. We did the first one in Liverpool for about 80-90 people, which then grew into other things, and now we do one at Tranmere Rovers. Occasionally we do the one in Liverpool, but it's now become the one on the Wirral every year as well. And it's basically the art school doing all the prep and all the cooking and having the turkey ready, the prawn cocktails, the puddings, the roasties, the everything. and then it all gets shipped over on Christmas Eve, just as we're finishing off from our Christmas Eve service. And then volunteers go in on Christmas Day to actually finish and present and look after the kids and take them presents. And that's our dear friend Gail and some of her volunteers. That's what they do on Christmas Day. So I do all the donkey work, and the team are very proud to do that. I have to say, the chefs and waiters at the art school, it's one of our things that we look forward to doing every year, and it's a really Christmassy, wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
And we do a few other things like that as well, but but that one is a real significant one, because at the time, funny enough, one of my sous chefs was very emotional about it, because he'd been in care most of his life. A guy called Simon Holmes. He won't mind me mentioning him, because he was a fabulous cook. He did his training at Le Manoir and with Gordon Ramsay, and absolutely incredible career, but also had a very tough upbringing as well. And I'll never forget his face when we got the chance to do it, and it was almost tears of emotion as he's cooking the food to be sent over for the care leavers. So incredible things, and again, all brought together by food and drink, and how that can make people feel, how that the power of food and drink, as I always say, how that can impact on somebody who may have been sat on their own on Christmas Day, compared to having this experience. It's priceless, absolutely priceless, so we shall continue to do it, because it's wonderful. Yeah,
absolutely. I didn't realize the impact of food and sharing food with others. So not at your standard, Paul, but we did a little bit of cookery in we did a project, and I used to go and get food waste from the food bank, and then we'd bring it, and then we'd have 20 local community. We didn't know what we were getting. We used to put it in, and then we cooked it, and then everything that we cooked, we used to put in the middle, and we used to share it.
And talk to each other.
People, and some of the people, they lived on their own, so they didn't share meals, and we had the conversation, and the conversation was about the food, and it was about food waste, and if people are struggling, they can go to food banks, or they could buy reduced items at the in the supermarket and stuff, and how to make things. And it became like I really looked forward to delivering that session on a Monday. We had an amazing time, and the skill levels we had. So there was a gentleman, he was 74, he just lost his wife. He'd never eaten a mushroom, he'd never had pasta in his life. And you're like that, you just can't. And then he said,
can you? No.
And he said, I'll have to start to like mushrooms and pasta. He said, my daughter's taking me to Italy in September, and he's never been out of the country. And he was, and then he was like the pasta king, and then he became the soup king. And he used to make the soup for everybody, because we used to have soup on a Wednesday. And it as you were saying, the power of food bringing people together, and that's the local community to fine dining, isn't it? It's amazing.
It is. I mean, one of the other projects that I adore, that we still get involved with now in terms of fundraising, although as a younger chef, I actually used to be part of this. So I'm a fellow of the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, and one of our projects is called the Chefs Adopt a School program. And what we do is we send chefs into primary schools, probably about age 7 or 8. I don't even know what that is in year. All the years have changed now for me.
Year 3.
Is that year 3? Is it okay?
Yeah.
So basically, in my case, I adopted Harry's school, my son's school, and so we took him out on a bus to Claremont Farm. Did the Welly Walk, went round the fields, looking at all the the pheasants and the dragonflies and whatever nature was there, pulling up the cabbages and the carrots and onions and harvesting vegetables, back on the bus, back to the school. And then myself and another chef spent the afternoon cooking with them, making fresh pasta, making bread, making a ragu, making whatever it was, 2 or 3 different things. And they all had their little Royal Academy chef's hats on and their bibs. And then they all get to take a little tin of their dish home at the end of the day. And by God, by the end of that day, I tell you what, they were 10 feet tall, and they were so proud of what they've done. And the fact that they've connected where a vegetable comes from. So many people, they haven't got a clue what a parsnip is or where. They just see a tin or a packet or a TV dinner. And for us as chefs and parents and people who want to develop food culture, I couldn't think of a better way to do it. And that continues now. and we actually raise money nationally to put more and more chefs into schools, especially in challenged areas, shall we say, that need a bit more help. And it's about it's about nutrition. Yeah. It's about where food comes from, respecting ingredients, and then guess what? They sit down together, they eat together, they learn how to use a knife and fork. They become civilized. It's a novel approach, isn't it? But it's been going on for centuries. So why are we stopping that?
And we haven't got much time, but you've just won some awards, haven't you, for the cellar bar as well?
Well, we've been very lucky this year. We put the cellars in for a People's Choice Award for a national award, and we got lots and lots of votes and managed to win Best Bar for the People's Choice, which, as I say, for a national award is fantastic. And then the other one was the Merseyside Tourism Awards. We put the art school in for our 10th anniversary. We have been lucky enough to win it before and hadn't put it in since 2017 because we won the Taste of England that year, and we thought, right, we better quit while we're ahead, sort of thing. So we hadn't put it in since. And I was absolutely delighted because we managed to win Restaurant of the Year as well. So it's been a busy year, but a very fruitful one so far.
Good.
And we shall continue to make powerful food, look after people, and make them feel better, and make the world go round with a bit more of a smile on its face. That's what we need to do.
Brilliant.
Wonderful.
So Uncle Ron's listening.
Hello, Uncle Ron.
So my Uncle Ron says, in Mexico, there's a group of department stores called Liverpool because all their goods come through Liverpool.
What?
Really?
Who knew
in Mexico? That? Well, I didn't
Uncle
know
Ron
that.
knew that in Mexico.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that, Uncle Ron. Thank you.
That'll be someone from here who's moved out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So there you go. And Jan Railton says, evening, ladies and gents. And we're going to say happy retirement to Jan.
Happy retirement. She
was in the Titanic with me mum.
Oh, happy retirement, Jan.
Yeah. Okay, so red face, a quick red face. So I've got two that I've just remembered. Last week, I've got 3 laptops. Oh, yeah. I took them all into school and left all 3 of them, so I couldn't do the show. So apologies.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I'd been on the out for the afternoon tea at night, taking my mum and all the mates over the water. And then today I was writing on a stickers, and I was trying to peel the sticker off for ages, but because I've got false nails, I was like, oh, I really can't get this. But I'd written on the wrong side. And I did it twice.
Easily done.
Twice I did it. So there you go. They're my red faces. What's yours, Paul?
Well, we had a lovely event last week with Henna's English Sparkling Wine, another one of our partner brands, if you like. We're ambassadors for Henna's, and we had a lovely sort of winemakers dinner, or wine club as we call it now, in the cellars. We do them in the main room, but this one was in the cellars. And there was a lovely couple, some of our regulars, who were in there. And for some reason, I had it in my head that it was their anniversary. So I kept going over saying, oh, happy anniversary. So nice for you to spend it with us on your anniversary. Oh, happy anniversary. And we have a little chocolate plate that we send over, happy anniversary. And then I looked at the booking notes, and again towards the end of the night, and they'd been so polite, didn't say a dicky bird, honestly, just smiled and waved. And it was her birthday, nothing to do with the bloody anniversary. So I was mightily, I am quite red-faced anyway, but I was a bit more red-faced on that one. But I made it up to them. They were fine. Extra glass of Henna's, they were fine.
Yeah. Oh. What about you, Sam?
Well, I had, when we came back from New York and we did our show after that, and I said, I haven't really got anything. I'll have loads next time. And then I had about 3 last week. And I said to you, I've literally got 3 for the show. And I didn't make a note of them because I thought I'll remember them, and they've completely gone. So that's my red face. My mind's going, obviously. But there were loads.
It's full of blue badge information, Sandra.
I've got to get this project in by midnight tomorrow, Paul. I've got all kinds going on.
You'll be in. So Uncle Ron says the info that comes via the Tour de France cycling race about Mexico.
Really? I'm going to Google it. As soon as I get off here, I'm going to Google it and find out.
Yeah. My uncle Ron's a massive Tour de France fan, and he's been over to Paris and watched them and everything like that.
Amazing.
So
we need to get some more Liverpool products out to them. We need to do some business with them, don't we? The Mexicans.
We do, 100%.
Corporate connections, Mexico, please, Sandra. We need to get that sorted. Yeah.
I can sort that out.
Brian will be all over that. Brian will sort that for us. Yeah.
So Brian says, "What a show! Awesome guest, friend, and ambassador. Love my city with a passion."
We love you too, Brian. We love you too.
And my uncle Ron just says, "You're all puzzled now."
What did he say? You're all what?
Puzzled.
Puzzled now.
Yeah. Well, I'm struggling to get the connection between the bike racing, Mexico, Paris, and Liverpool selling stuff over in Mexico. I mean, there's got to be a,
whatever. Yeah.
He's one of my phone friends when I'm on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because he knows everything. He's the fountain of all knowledge.
I'm with you, Ron. I'm gonna do a bit of Googling when I get off this now and sort it all out.
Yeah. So we do a shout out to the grown-ups, and we're going to give a massive shout out to all the emergency services who attended yesterday and who are still working with the families and the communities and every single person who's and the hospitals, everybody, and all the people who are running community groups, because it will have impacted a lot of people. So
absolutely.
Keep doing those amazing jobs.
But you know what? People are so decent. And there was a guy on Facebook before, an electrician, and he said, if you're worried about that in the area, he said, I will fit 3 Ring doorbells on community centres for you. And I thought, how good's that? You know, there's all kinds of, there's a person who was doing, a taxi guy who was doing the free journeys to the hospitals for the people and things like that, and
typical Liverpool.
It shows, and Southport as well, and the extended area.
Sorry, Liverpool City region.
And we always say it's success in the city, but we have people on from Nosey, Halton, Wirral, etc., Sefton. So we always say it's the region, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. Sorry, Hal.
No, that was it. So what book podcast are you reading? I'm going to go first because it's a bit random.
Go on.
After everything that we've been talking about today, so our gorgeous Fran, who was on, who's gone to Australia, she recommended Ultra Processed People.
That's right.
Which I am listening to at the moment, and it's fascinating.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
I would imagine it's a bit like the bread that I was describing before, Sandra. When it's over-processed, they always cause problems. And humans are no different when they're over-processed, I would imagine.
It's all to do with how the food's processed and how what an original piece of food was. You wouldn't know what it is now.
It's chalk and cheese compared to what it used to be. It's it's awful. It's awful. Yeah.
And about like soft, fast foods and takeaways are soft and
basically sugar and salt and additives just to give the mouthfeel and they become addictive. That's the problem.
That's exactly
I'm up to the addictive bit now. That's where I'm up to.
Yeah.
Well,
it's got everybody hooked. Yeah.
Really good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So I'd highly recommend everybody to read that, listen to it. What are you reading, listening to, San?
Well, I've just been listening to all kinds lately. So I finished that book, as you know, and then I was listening to I catch up every now and then. The Diary of a CEO. I do those podcasts in bursts. So I'll listen to 10 over a weekend because some of them are an hour to 2 hours. They're all different lengths depending on his guests. So I've had a few good people on that lately as well,
Brilliant. Are you reading? Do you have any time to read or listen to anything, Paul?
I listen to music a lot, particularly in the car when I'm going backwards and forwards to work. But I'm gearing up to go on my holes on Saturday. So I've got a book, a sort of where you can sit and listen to a book being read to you while I'm in a coma, hopefully on a beach or something. And it's I don't know if some of you may know, I do like my rugby as well. And there's a fantastic prop forward who plays for England and Harlequins called Joe Marler, and his book. He's got a Mohican. He's quite a character. He does amazing podcasts as well. Actually, very, very funny. So I'm going to listen to his book while I'm away. But I've also just bought myself surprise, another cookery book, all about edible seaweeds. So we already do a seaweed butter with one of our breads, and there's a couple of ideas that I'm working on for some new dishes. So I'm doing a bit of research of my seaweeds. So I'll report back on that. Yeah, it's the way forward. Very healthy.
Yeah,
good for you. Yeah, definitely sustainable. You know, it's 100%. All about all that sort of stuff and what's available local. You know, from around North Wales and Anglesey, and also up the coast a little bit, Southport area. We already get great samphire and dulse and things like that, but I want to find out what else we can use. You know, so it's
brilliant.
Yeah,
I look forward to buying that bread.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Well, our time has disappeared. That went super fast. My Uncle Ron says, "Great show."
Thanks.
So there you go. You've had the seal of approval from Uncle Ron. That's it. You've gone up again.
Fabulous. Thank you, Ron. I shall be investigating Mexico immediately. Thank you.
So we want to say a massive thank you to Paul for giving his time, and that was super interesting. And thank you for being an amazing ambassador for our city. Do you have a closing quote or a mantra that you live by?
Well, anybody who knows me, they know that I did a little book about 2017-18, I think we brought out, and there was only one name that the book could have had, because it's what I say all the time to the brigade and to the art school team, and it's the way I live my life, and it's onwards and upwards. Don't ever let them knock you down. Never give up. Just keep going, onwards and upwards. It'll be fine. Everything will be well. Yeah,
brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We will see everybody next week. Good night.
Pleasure. Toodaloo.
Thank you.